A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Scott Hall passes away after suffering multiple heart attacks.
Big E suffers a broken neck on Smackdown.
More names rumoured for the WWE Hall of Fame.
Diamond Dallas Page adds Buff Bagwell to the list of wrestlers he's helped.
Paige VanZant signs with AEW and is set to be trained by Gangrel.
New Unified WWE Title revealed.
Eric Bischoff has his latest bullshit take as he claims WWE storytelling is better than AEW's.
We'll tell you that, unbiased. Warner Media against AEW signing the Briscoes.
And Cody Rhodes' WWE return may be a WrestleMania surprise, or it may not. Who knows? And Anthony, when's all that coming up?
It's all coming up right fucking now.
Yes, it is. So unfortunately, we have the very somber topic to kick things off this week. So, what a terrible piece of news this is. So, as we mentioned, I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before on the news. Scott Hall, we know, had a fall and ended up breaking his hip. So he was hospitalised, and PW Torch broke some rather unexpected news earlier in the week that Scott was actually on life support as some complications from his hip surgery led to a clot, which subsequently ended up resulting in 3 heart attacks as a result of that. So absolutely horrific, of course. So I think that kind of stunned the wrestling world because obviously we knew he'd broken his hip, but we just never expected something, to go so wrong. So obviously he was, Kevin Nash put a post out to reveal that, he was on life support, and effectively when Scott's family arrived in Georgia, where, was the hospital where he was at, that they would actually be discontinuing that life support. And unfortunately, a few hours after, the life support was turned off, he passed away, unfortunately. And just an absolute shame. I think, I've got so many memories of Scott growing up, obviously. Started watching in 1992, so saw, obviously, Razor. And obviously, I'm a huge Mr. Perfect fan. It's such a silly memory because it's not even necessarily totally about Razor. I know he's done fantastic stuff in other matches and things, but something that always stuck out with me is I remember Mr. Perfect's return match where he kind of teamed up with Randy Savage to take on Ric Flair and Razor. And yeah, I must have watched that match a million times. There was such a Mr. Perfect mark, and I just remember thinking, God, he's so good. Razor, I hope he wins a world title one day, and unfortunately that wasn't to be the case, but obviously he did go on to be an absolute trailblazer in the business, obviously founding member of the NWO, and yeah, we know he had a couple of dark times in his life, and obviously we've had DDP on the show, and you can see his documentary and stuff as well, where you get to see a bit about Scott in there, but DDP really helped Scott turn his life around, and he was, by all accounts, back to his best self and was just loving life, and everyone was loving him being around, and just such a shame in terms of how ultimately he ended up going out. So, yeah, So.
I mean, you're totally right. It's an absolute shame and a total loss to the industry, and I think, I was going to say, no matter what age of wrestling fan, you've always got sort of memories. But one thing I want to do down the line, Carl, I think we both talked about doing it, is sort of covering the career of Scott Hall, because I think a lot of the younger fans probably don't appreciate the impact he had on the business, and you can kind of do that. You know what I mean? Because everyone talks about the NWO as a whole, but the outsiders essentially changed the landscape of wrestling. Had we not have had that, we wouldn't have had half the changes we had. We wouldn't have had the same fight between WCW and WWE and so on like that. So he's got such a storied career, and the only thing I will say, and I don't want to talk sort of too much or even potentially come across as in any way insensitive about his passing, but I've seen it said a couple of times now that it's so good that, like, as tragic as his death is, it's so good that he was able to sort of beat his demons and go out in this way. You know what I mean? As much as it's sad that he's had to had to suffer so early, but you know, I don't know. It's almost kind of a nice way of it being put across. If you know what I mean, that he sort of got to the other side of those demons, really, which is
that's it. I think that's what makes it the biggest kick in the teeth of all, really, because I think there was a time years ago where many of us felt like he wasn't really long for this world, and for him to beat them demons and to turn his life around and to be, seemingly just absolutely, look in such great shape and stuff. It's just an absolute tragedy. So yeah, I mean, obviously
the only other takeaway I want to sort of mention on it really is, obviously we're just fans and we can say how we feel about it, but I just encourage anyone listening, if they haven't already, just to look at some of the messages and some of the things that have been put out there by his, for lack of a better term, his colleagues, fellow wrestlers, the likes of Bret Hart. He put a really moving sort of words out there. And obviously Kevin Nash, who was one of his closest friends. I just I don't know. I just have a look on some of the messages they put out, because you can really see just how sort of loved he was in the industry. Really, it's just nice to see,
Absolutely. So yeah, just massive, obviously, condolences from us to Scott's friends and family, and we lost a good one, and unfortunately. It's losing too many, so it's a very big shame. Indeed. But yeah, we'll move on best we can.
I mean, sadly, the next bit of news is it's not a great topic, but we'll take the positives where we can. So this is, and a lot of people will be aware of it by now, but Big E quite recently on Smackdown suffered what ended up being a broken neck. So we had a particular spot, you'll be able to see it on SmackDown if you haven't already, with Ridge Holland with a belly-to-belly suplex in which Big E clearly lands on his head, and unfortunately ended up being rushed to hospital. So it turns out he's actually fractured his C1 and C6 vertebrae, and it's a good news story in the sense of, like, they were fractured but they weren't displaced, which is an incredibly good thing. So there's no damage to his spinal cord, there's no ligament damage, and no surgery required. So those are the massive positives. That being said, Big E is going to be out for some time healing. And I'll mention it just because it's been a point of talk, but we can only be optimistic and look at it and just sort of, wait for the guy's comeback. But the C1 in particular is a very bad one to fracture, so he can't sort of rush it, I suppose. So they refer to the C1 quite often as was it the Atlas? This particular vertebrae, I'm no doctor, by the way, so I'm just gonna not rant too much about it, but obviously it's responsible. The C1 and C2 are responsible for a lot of the support of the head. And responsible for a fair bit of movement as well, so that it's quite a bad one to fracture. But obviously, as he rightly said in the information he put out, everything, nothing's displaced, there's no ligament damage, etc. So it seems, while it's bad news, it seems very positive in the sense of, like, the recovery will just be for him to support his neck and to heal up and to not rush back. You know what I mean? It's a very serious. He's been very, very lucky, but it's a very serious injury, so he needs to rest up. So sadly, we won't have Big E on our screens for a little while, but it's what the big guy's got to do. He's got to rest up and sort of heal up, really.
Yeah, definitely. Massive shame. It's horrible when anything like this happens. Just a freak accident. I know, obviously, Ridge Holland was very obviously apologetic backstage, and it's never nice to, whether you're the person, who is on the worst end of it or the person who feels responsible or whatever. But, I think, just wishing, obviously, him a really speedy recovery and hopefully he gets back to his best. Obviously, just recently won the WWE Championship. So, let's see whether when he does return, whether he can kind of build on that a little bit more. But, Yeah, terrible news right before Mania as well. It's just awful.
I know. I am gutted for him missing out on Mania, to be honest, bro.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of time for that. Plenty of time. I'm sure he could be main event in the next one.
Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
So the next piece of news is all around the Hall of Fame. So we heard earlier this week that Queen Sharmell has been announced as the third inductee after obviously The Undertaker and Vader. But there's been some quite interesting names, Anthony, floating around for the other inductees this year. Now, one name rumoured, which I think we've mentioned before, is Psycho Sid, who obviously would definitely be deserving of his place. I think in last week's Fact of the Week, he's got a mad stat where he's only ever been at 2 WrestleManias, but both times have been in the main event. So, crazy. Just such a random stat that is. But obviously he was a really big deal when he was in WWE. So, I think it'd be right, definitely a rightful place in the Hall of Fame. But the big surprising name, and particularly one of them, is the Steiner brothers. So obviously Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner. But if you remember, not too long ago, Scott Steiner was not on good terms at all with WWE. There was even a point in time, I think we covered a story where wasn't Scott Steiner on like the Do Not Enter list? Like they had a picture of his face on a piece of paper and everything. Like he was really not in their good books. But if the rumours to be believed, they are making quite a big push to try and get the Steiner brothers in the Hall of Fame this year. Now, I think the Steiner family are going to be in attendance. With obviously Bron Breakker has got a match at Stand and Deliver, so they're definitely going to be around. But I believe that it's actually Scott who is kind of the one being quite hesitant on going in. So it might be that they still go ahead with this and only decide to induct Rick Steiner, which I wouldn't be a big fan of.
Well, all due respect to Rick, Scott's the more
Scott was
Scott
was the kind of the breakout star, wasn't he? Like I don't want to be like a Sean and Jannetty situation kind of thing here, but essentially Scott went out and did his own thing and became a main event star and things like that, whereas Rick Steiner didn't really do a whole lot as a singles competitor, so they absolutely deserve to be in as a tag team, multiple time tag team champions. But I don't know. I think it'd be good for them to go in together, but let's see what happens with that. But another interesting one is, I don't know whether you remember this. So Batista was actually announced as part of the 2020 Hall of Fame class, but obviously it was when they had to postpone that year because of COVID and stuff like that, so they ended up doing it the following year. So Batista ultimately kind of turned it down and said, I'd love to be inducted at a future event or whatever. But the news is that they're not planning to do it this year. So obviously he should have gone in 2020. We're now in 2022, and he's still not going to be going in.
They're going to wait for Hollywood.
That
makes sense.
That seems to be like my thinking on it. So obviously, Drax or whatever the hell he's done. There's other things he's been in as well, My Spy, stuff like that. So
there's other things he's done.
Other things.
So
so obviously Hollywood would probably make the most sense. But yeah, interesting. And I'm quite surprised at how late they've left it to announce like the full class. To be fair, like we've literally only got 3 names. So normally they have 6 or 7, something like that. So.
One thing I'll never get my head around is how they go about their decision making with Hall of Fames.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
This is no disrespect to Batista, but I just don't get how Batista goes in before other people. Like in theory, had it have panned out, Batista would have been a Hall of Famer before on The Undertaker.
This is true.
Why does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's like
Tori Wilson, and again, no offense, Tori Wilson and the Bellas are already Hall of Famers, and Mickie James isn't. I just don't understand the decision process. I never will.
Yeah, I think
arbitrarily people.
It kind of. So I think there's something to do with obviously whether or not you're still active anymore and things like that. So obviously you're more likely to go in once you're kind of retired, for example.
Mickey, stop.
Exactly. But so I think there's that aspect of it as well. But I think it's like trying to have a well-rounded class. Obviously, if it's you're putting in the top guys all the time, by the time you get to down the line, it would feel like you're clutching at straws. You know what I mean? So it's nice to have
I take your point.
marquee inductees every year, I guess. So I kind of understand it, but at the same time, you do, it's baffling that like the likes of Savage and that it took so long for him to get in there and things. So it happens, unfortunately. But yeah, I definitely think Undertaker very, very well deserved. Vader, another one. And who knows, like who else is gonna find their way in this year or in the future. So yeah, definitely surprising though the Scott Steiner one. So can't wait to see what happens with that.
Interesting stuff, man. So Carl, the next one we've got. I don't know if you remember this a little while back, but Buff Bagwell, or is it Marcus is his actual name, rather than calling him Buff. He actually he cancelled a lot of upcoming appearances, and his reasoning was that he needed to get himself together. And from that, it turns out he's actually moving. He moved in, so has moved in because he already is. We've got proof of that. With Diamond Dallas Page, and will be taking part in the Change or Die docuseries. So basically, Diamond Dallas Page has added another person to his list of people he's helped. And the main update we've got on this one is DDP actually posted a bit of I want to say Instagram, may have been Twitter, I can't remember, with a picture of with good old Marcus, and he's saying he's doing well and it's time to #Change or Die. So he's following DDP's program in a very similar vein to Jake the Snake living with DDP, and hopefully it goes just as well. And DDP is just an absolute legend, and he totally understands what these people have been through in their careers, and he's just trying to help as many people as he can. And it's so commendable for someone who's been in the industry and through the industry and knows it like that. It's just so amazing that he's looking to help out the guys who basically he got to a place, didn't he, that a lot of people didn't get to, and to help other people get there is just fucking brilliant. So just a great thing to see.
You can argue he's been one of the most influential people in the wrestling business. DDP, it's absolutely insane the amount of stuff he's done, he's been involved with, and the literal lives that he's saved. Do you know what I mean? It's
and not even
crazy.
The ones like, because you got things like this where he saved lives, but then you hear of like people like Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles and that following his programs so that they don't sort of end up feeling totally beaten up and worn out at the end of it. Because it's not just, I mean, he helped Jake with his demons, and he's helping Marcus with a lot of stuff, so it's not just about the physical element, but obviously DDP Yoga fucking works, and he's proved it works. At the age of 62, I want to say at the time, might have even been 66 actually, I could be wrong. He had a match in AEW, DDP himself,
absolutely mental.
DDP Yoga works. You know what I mean? So the fact that the younger talents are following it now, so that hopefully they can have longer and safer careers, is just amazing. So like you say, nothing but impact on the business, man.
Definitely. Even like Jericho is he's come out and given him a lot of praise, hasn't he? Saying that he wouldn't be able to still be going like he is today if he hadn't
because it turns out Jericho's been doing it for some time, hasn't he, as well?
Yeah, he was very against it as well, I believe. He was like, I'm not doing this fucking yoga shit. And he's like, he's a massive advocate of it now. So yeah, DDP is just an absolute legend. I'm still honoured that he came on this show. It's an absolute...
the fact we've got to talk to him is just awesome.
Dream. Yeah. He's literally one of the nicest dudes in the world, and the amount he's given back to wrestlers and the wrestling business is just insane. So wishing...
this guy is relentless.
He certainly is. Yeah, wishing Buff all the good stuff, and hopefully he's back to his best soon. Indeed. So the next piece of news. So Paige VanZant is all elite, Anthony. She signed the contract on Dynamite this past week. Obviously, she'd been making a number of appearances with the company for quite a while as part of this American Top Team angle. I believe it could have potentially led to something with Brandy, but obviously her and Cody left. So it looks like it might be going down the kind of Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti kind of route potentially. But so yeah, she's now all elite. But interestingly, it was noted by ESPN's Mark Raimondi that she's actually going to begin her wrestling training at the California-based wrestling school Coastal Championship Wrestling, which is interestingly, operated by none other than Gangrel.
Nice.
So, do you think is it interesting or strange that she wouldn't have gone to the Nightmare Factory? I mean, location could be a factor because I think she is from Cali anyway.
Yeah.
So it might be that she didn't want to relocate or wanted to do something more local. But
yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I suppose it's just one of them, isn't it? Not everyone is going to the Nightmare Factory. Like, you kind of expect it now with AEW, don't you? But it's, it probably is a location thing. It's nice to see some other places, to be honest, and like, let's see who comes out of the class of Gangrel and how good they look.
Indeed. I actually think it's a really big win for AEW to get Paige VanZant. I think she is. I've always thought she was going to be a star when I first saw her in UFC anyway. And obviously she's gone on to get notoriety. She's done things like Dancing with the Stars and gained a bit of a following kind of commercially that way as well. But interestingly about this deal is even though she's all elite, she is still going to remain signed with the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. So she will still be doing some actual kind of bare knuckle boxing as well. The crazy bitch that she is. But yeah, I think it's a great acquisition. It adds a name outside the wrestling business that people will know. But at the same time is someone who clearly wants to give it a really good shot. So yeah, let's see what happens. Obviously, if she's just starting her wrestling training now, like, are we still going to see her and she's basically going to be told better learn quick and get in there, kid? Or like, is she signed but not expecting to see her in the ring properly for like a year or so? Who knows? But yeah, all remains to be seen.
And it does. So Carl, my next one is a bit of an odd one, right? Because the headline is New Universe. It's just rambling. It's just incoherent rambling. Right? My headline, Carl, is the potential of a new unified title being revealed. Mm-hmm. So this has come from, funnily enough, some exterior props or photo shoots of props for WrestleMania 38, in which they've shown like a giant WWE title that is somewhat different to either of the WWE titles. So it's led to the speculation: is this what the new unified title is going to look like? We're having a unification match? Could this be the case? We don't know. It's speculative. We've got a picture. It's all good. But the interesting thing, Carl, and the thing that kind of bugs me, and sort of what I want to talk about. So we have the possibility of that being revealed. I'm sure Carl, being the master editor that he is showing you what that title looks like right now. Unless you're listening and you're fucked. But the interesting thing for me is that we're also getting reports from, I want to say it's the Wrestling Observer News, because I'm super good at citing sources. It was the Wrestling Observer newsletter. There you go. Did it right. That because of the network deals, that it's unlikely that the unified title will be anything more than temporary. Because each network wants their own title. So each show needs its own title. So the suggestion is that, yeah, they're going to have this whole match, and it may be the case for a short term, but the chances are that Raw is going to once again have its own world title anyway, making another unified title fucking pointless. Yeah. How do you feel, Carl?
I mean,
because let's not forget that Chris Jericho unified. He was the first one to unify the titles 700 years ago, right? And I know the Universal title is a new thing, so technically speaking, the WWE title is already a unified title that they've not. That's basically 3 belts at this point, right? But even so, are we going to unify them and have the unified champion and whatever this new one is, or are we going to separate them again for no reason? Or are we bringing back the big gold? Let's bring back the big gold.
They would definitely won't do that. So firstly, to answer your first point, it would be nice to have the current champion show up on Raw. Just a thought, just because Brock got a feud with Roman doesn't mean that he can't show up on Raw.
I love it. I think that's good storytelling straight away. Roman's like, I'm not gonna do anything on Raw. Fuck them.
Exactly. So there's that aspect, but if you see the image, the proposed new design, if that's what it is, is it essentially looks just like the WWE title today, except instead of the red kind of stripe at the bottom, it's now a blue stripe. So
it potentially, and this might just be because of the prop, it does look a little less bedazzled, but that might be because of the prop more than anything.
Maybe.
You know?
But I'd say like maybe what they're going to do, and maybe this is just a massive spoiler, is they're just going to sack off the idea of a universal champion because it sounds shit, and they're just going to have like the Raw World Champion and the Smackdown World Champion, and the fact that it's blue, I think what we're seeing here is that Roman's going to beat Brock. That's the title he's going to get, and he's going to remain on SmackDown. And then Raw's going to get the Raw World Champion, and it's just going to be the belt that Brock had.
Honestly, it might make a little bit more sense if they did what they do with the women's titles. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the women's titles are literally just referred to as the Raw Women's Title and the SmackDown Women's Title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet you don't have men's titles. You have the Universal Champion and the World Champion. So it might make a bit more sense if they're going to just like rejig it all to have the Raw Men's Champion and the SmackDown Men's Champion.
Yeah, which it's, you know, I think that's where they're going. I think by making that kind of stripe at the bottom blue, that's going to be the SmackDown title, and then the Raw one's going to look exactly the same, just but with the red, like as it is today, essentially. So
yeah,
massive spoiler, WWE. I think you basically just told us that Roman's winning at WrestleMania.
Nice one, WWE. Thanks.
But yeah,
now.
I'm just going to throw it out there again because I always throw it out there when we have these conversations. Just sack off the separate rosters.
We can't because we've got networks involved now.
Who gives a shit?
No, because you've got like the USA Network. Like, no, we want Riddick Moss only on our show and no other show.
But like that's what I don't get. So like, surely no one's going, we want exclusivity to talent. So therefore, it must be better for both networks to say, well, instead of you having half the roster and you having half the roster, we'll just have all the best talent on both shows. Sound, everybody wins. I don't understand, like, because they can't for the life of them.
So scouts tonight.
Because I'm fucking fuming, mate.
Sound
I go proper scouts are infusing. But yeah, like, you can't say to me that they know how to put a show on now with the talent they've got, you know, on the separate brands. So at least if they were to merge the rosters,
they know about storytelling. You know this.
Nice little segue.
Smooth, right?
So yeah, Hansi just threw that ball up, and I'm gonna smash the shit out of it now.
Delicate game of volleyball.
Creative visualization as Eric Bischoff's face. Now,
I don't even need to say nothing about that. I'm just gonna listen to you rant because I remember putting this in, and you've moved where it is so that you could rant about it. I know what you've done here, and I'm all for it. I'm here for this. Let's do it.
So, who's ready? Story time here on the A2theK Wrestling Show. Who's ready for the latest in Bischoff's bullshit takes? I know I am. Right?
The BBT, if you will.
The BBT. Once again, Bischoff has criticised AEW. It's almost as if he really wanted a job there and was told no. And so now he's like, well, fuck you guys, I'm going to badmouth you every chance I get. It's almost like he's got a bit of an agenda there, right? But, right, it's a weird one with Bischoff because you can't say he hasn't done some good stuff back in WCW days. What you can say is he's a fucking massive one-trick pony and he needs to just pipe the fuck down, right? He's criticised AEW because he's now said, right, the reason that AEW have plateaued, which I've got no facts to say that is actually a thing, but okay, is because they don't know how to tell a story, Anthony, apparently, which we'll come back to. He said, while there's elements of... this is my notes. So, while there's elements of what Bischoff is saying is true, obviously you need to have good stories and things that fans can get invested in, obviously, right? It's this quote from Bischoff that really pisses me off, right? He basically, this is his quote, you could take WWE's existing roster, bring it over to AEW, and nothing is going to happen. It's story, and first of all, you have to have a basic understanding of how to tell a story, and I don't see it. I see it in WWE, and I don't see it in AEW. You are fucking blind then, aren't you? Because what the fuck are you on about?
Let's humour him that there's no storytelling in AEW. Right, and let's entertain that for a sec. where the fuck is he seeing it in WWE?
Is he talking about the 24/7 title scene? Like,
I'd accept it more if he said no one's telling stories.
Yeah.
I could maybe live with that. But WWE, you can see it there. Where?
It is. I'm so perplexed. It is a baffling statement. It's almost as if, because he showed up recently on WWE TV, that now he's like, oh, I'll say nice things about WWE now. He's full of shit, basically.
Well, it's only a very petty thing, Carl, because I know he was just trying to have a jab. What bugs me about that quote, right, is if you take the WWE roster and put it in AEW, nothing will happen. Like, well, doesn't that ruin your theory, Eric? Because shouldn't it get worse?
Mm-hmm.
Because WWE are good at storytelling, allegedly. Shouldn't it get worse if AEW had them? Apparently nothing's going to happen. So, like, that to me, are you saying they're equally shit?
I don't think he knows what he's saying. It's the ramblings.
That is a minor petty thing for me, but even so, I'm like, the clearly more stories told in AEW. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Don't be wrong, WWE isn't completely devoid of it. I know we act like that at times. You know, the Roman Reigns stuff is fantastic. You know, what's happening with, as much as I had issue with it initially, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch is a story that's being told. I was dubious that they were just going to screw Bianca Belair over and it was never going to happen again. But they are telling a story there. You know, there are elements of good storytelling, but few and far between. Few and far between. We've seen much more long-term and consistent stories in AEW since their inception.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. You know, Hangman Page has had arguably the longest story arc in wrestling in a long time.
We talked about it just earlier, Carl. We're hopefully going to see the culmination of Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker's story this week.
Exactly. Stuff that they do just makes sense and it is backed up with story of why it happened. Like, look at CM Punk and MJF. That was absolutely caked in story. It had backstory, it had repercussions, it had absolutely everything. So I'm baffled by this. Like, you know, no shit, Bischoff. You know, to sell a fucking good feud, you need story. Well, wow. You know, is this what all the years of being a fucking promoter has told you? No shit, right? But maybe he should have learned how to fucking tell a story. This is the guy who they signed Bret Hart and didn't know how the fuck to use him. The first thing they did is put him as a special guest referee in a match. He's fucking clueless, honestly. He rode a fucking wave of luck with that NWO thing, which is probably backed mostly by Nash and Hall anyway, as opposed to his ideas. And now he's there.
Let's face it,
I
without
beat
Nash and
WWE for
Hall, it
83
would've been
weeks. It's like, did you? It was how many of your ideas beat? You know, it was the NWO basically beat WWE for 83 weeks.
What you managed was Goldberg not losing a match, which isn't really storytelling, let's be honest.
Exactly.
Right? And then you even fucked up the finish of that, let's be honest.
Exactly. So. And it's, you know, the egomaniac had to insert himself into the NWO. You know, he was just a fucking commentator, wasn't he? And he's like, well, no, I'm going to be the mouthpiece for the NWO, even though they brought in Ted DiBiase to do that fucking... They already had Ted DiBiase, one of the best talkers in the game, and now they bring Bischoff in. Why? Like, anyway. So it's almost like, Eric, that you're a little bit bitter that AEW didn't want you, and so now you're going to talk shit about them.
This is annoying for us because we were big fans of Eric, and over the last few months, he just keeps putting takes out there that are just... This to me is just designed to cause maybe listeners on his show and arguments, because there's no way he truly believes that WWE is better when it comes to the storytelling. I've given WWE a lot of credit for a lot of things. Their production is unmatched, but you can't tell me their stories are better. I could even understand some,
especially not today, not now, not current stuff. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like current WWE product, no chance.
I would live with people who are WWE fans, because obviously we are slightly against a few different things there, who are bigger WWE fans than you and me, saying that it's just as good. But no one should be able to say that it's fucking better, because the storytelling is not fucking better.
No, there's barely any stories happening in WWE at the moment. You know, my whole gripe.
Guys? What's happening with the mid card?
Exactly, like my whole gripe with WWE in the This Week in Wrestling that we just did is. The whole WrestleMania build is people just saying, "Oh, I guess I need to find an opponent if I want to be on the card." How's that storytelling? That's the complete opposite of telling a story. That's, well, we've got no story, so let's just pair people up at WrestleMania, for fuck's sake. So, yeah. Another bullshit take from Bischoff. Join us, I'm sure, again, very soon for another episode of Bischoff's Bullshit Takes.
So the next one, Carl. Apparently, have they given any names? I don't think they've given any names. So, you may know the Briscoes, Carl. Yeah? Mark and Jay, for those who don't know them. So obviously, ever since Ring of Honor went on hiatus, and we now have a better idea what's happening with Ring of Honor, but ever since they originally went on hiatus, a lot of people were speculating the Briscoes, they are going to be, they're going to AEW, it's going to happen, and to be fair, these guys are talented as fuck. You had people like sort of FTR, I think, have hinted towards it. These guys are are they currently the AAA World Tag Champions, or they were quite recently, last time I was aware. They're very talented guys, and it just seemed to make sense that at some point someone's going to pick them up. And heavily suggested in AEW, it just made sense. However, Frightful Select have actually reported that a person of influence at Warner Media, so they didn't give any names, they didn't want Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe to sign with AEW. And allegedly, this is mainly due to Jay's homophobic tweets from 2013. So it would seem that there's a bit of pushback on them being signed. So I don't know if necessarily things are going to change now with the wholesale of Ring of Honor. We don't have enough detail about what's going on with Ring of Honor. Are they going to become a Warner Media product? We don't actually know just yet. So I don't know what the involvement's going to be, or how much it's going to cross over with AEW, or anything along that line. But by all accounts, we might not see the Briscoes in AEW anytime soon. And you know what, this might not be a very good take, and I get that some people will be annoyed with them. But he made some homophobic comment. Oh, fucking hell. Words, Carl. Words escape me. He made some homophobic comments in 2013. He also apologised for those comments. Now, I'm not saying, hey, that's all done and dusted. He's no longer a homophobe. Because, we live in a world where some people make people can learn from things, right? And I'm not trying to take his side, because at the same time, I don't think I would have made those sort of comments anyway. But that doesn't mean that people can't learn. People who would make those comments can't learn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you go, well, this is something that was nearly 10 years ago. Should that stop them? You know what I mean? And we see this so much in media today. We see a lot of people getting cancelled because of stuff they said way back when. So I suppose the thing I'd ask you, Carl, is do you think it's merited that they shouldn't be signed to AEW or given a chance with AEW for saying some asinine stupid shit many moons ago?
No, to be honest, I think, I can't really say it much better than what you said yourself. There's been a lot of examples now where there's been, old tweets, old comments unearthed in today's, environment that, people have obviously gone on to regret. Look at Sammy Guevara, who said stuff about Sasha Banks and all that, didn't he? Do you remember? And obviously he had to undergo some sensitivity training, things like that. He's still the TNT champion now, things like that. It's almost like, I don't know, people are quick to forget after there's been some kind of level of punishment. You know what I mean? I don't know what what's acceptable, to make it okay to bring them in. But at the end of the day, as long as they still don't hold them views now, and they're not, we always say in the show, don't we? Don't be a cunt. At the end of the day, if they are just
simple as that.
If they are just horrible people with horrible things to say about people, then why would you want them in your company anyway? If they're not like that, and they said something without thinking in the past where they've gone, fucking hell, I can't believe I said that, what an idiot I was, I'm not even like that anymore, then okay, I don't see what the problem is. But it's ultimately, you've got to judge on a person's character at the time of signing, haven't you? So unless, if they're there now saying fucking homophobic tweets every week, then no, they certainly don't belong in that, in the environment and the culture. Why would you want them as part of your roster? But if it's from something they've done 10 years ago, they've apologised for, don't hold them views, then I don't know. I wouldn't see that as a barrier personally, but yeah, we will see.
I mean, they can't. These people who make these comments on social media, they can't all go and join EC3 and Braun Strowman.
Control their narrative, damn it.
I kid, of course, I kid.
Yeah. But no, I mean, obviously, it's coming from a network exec in it, so maybe they're just, worried about getting some pressure from people who aren't happy with it, and obviously what that means for the network, stuff like that. So, it's obviously...
I hate that, like, social justice has become a business decision now, though.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it if people are upset, and rightly so, with some comments that they've made, but the decision by a company shouldn't be how much... Like, I don't even think it's a very moral decision, is it? Because they're going, how much backlash would we get? And maybe we should avoid that. That isn't showing that they care. That's showing that they don't want trouble, which is not the same thing. So they're not doing it out of any moral reason, which is shit, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. I think, I don't think a lot of decisions, especially at that kind of level, are based on morals. It's ultimately based on, ad revenue, sponsors. Is it going to... What are the repercussions going to be for the network, essentially? Yeah. So,
because behind it all, Carl, there's still cunts making money.
Yes, there is.
The bottom fucking line of it.
Yes, there is.
Including us. Please go to our Patreon. I kid.
Can you imagine if we had a Patreon? Can you imagine if we had a Patreon? Why would you guys want to pay to listen to extra shows of us chatting shite? That's what I wonder. You can have it for free.
Get enough of that for free.
Exactly. And it's not even worth that. We should pay you.
No, don't start that.
Oh no. God, what have I done? I'll put a clause in this at the end. But no. It's a strange one, isn't it? So I think who knows what's going to happen with them. I've not seen loads of their work, to be fair. I know that they are kind of classed as a really top tag team. I know, especially if the likes of FTR and that want to work with them, then they've got to be half decent, haven't they? Let's be fair. So I've only seen them a handful of times, but we were never Ring of Honor guys, so we're not going to know a great deal. Exactly.
Of
and to be fair, I've seen them in GCW. I've never even seen them in Ring of Honor. So I think AEW's tag team division is already quite stacked. So if it doesn't happen, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. But if they manage to get them, they've just added the Hardys, for example. So it's like it's another tag team now. So
that's true. That's true.
It's only because even the likes of FTR haven't exactly had a lot of time there, and Proud and Powerful and people like that. So there's a lot of other tag teams to kind of put some shine on, I would say. But if they come over, then I'm sure they can make a good thing out of it. So we will see.
We will see.
And so the last thing to talk about the
Cody Rhodes.
Go on.
Sure. I don't know what to do with it. You fucking calling me on it now, Carl. I can't think of a good rhyme. All right.
Boo! Throw your virtual tomatoes at Anthony. Just $1 a piece in Bitcoin and NFTs or something. Words I don't understand.
We should definitely become NFTs.
What? Natural fucking tools? I don't know.
Like nuanced fun time.
Do you want a nuanced fun time? Buy our NFTs or not? Have you seen... we probably should have put this in the news, actually, but while we're talking about it, have you seen WWE have just launched Moonsault, their NFT?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Why is everyone jumping on the NFT train? It's like they've gone, well, trading... Because I don't know enough about it, so this could be a totally fucking bullshit take, apologies. Right, but it's like they've gone like, the stock market is way too complicated. Let's do it in pretty pictures instead. It's exactly. Like NFTs, like the Instagram of fucking stocks, because you buy something and then the value might drop and you're not fucking sure why because you didn't look into it properly. But everyone else is buying pictures.
Do you want to own this digital asset for $1 million? Nope. I'll just right click save as. Thanks.
It's a bigger con than the entire fucking art industry. Like to go, oh, you own this thing that we've decided is so fucking valuable. Bullshit. What's the bullshit? Fuck your NFTs.
Wow. Okay. I think we can explore that at some point. Anthony hates art.
Hate art.
Go fuck yourself, Banksy.
I don't hate art, right? I hate when someone gets a can of soup, puts it on an IKEA shelf, and everyone goes, "Oh, revolutionary." It's bullshit.
Oh, okay. We need to do an episode just about this. I can't wait for that. Anyway, so this is the kind of craziness that Cody Rhodes brings us, Anthony, because once again, will he, won't he? Where the fuck is he? Who knows?
I love it. Like, Cody's literally at home, like, just spending time with his family, and hasn't said a fucking word, and I love it.
And everyone's there going, he's there tonight. He's there. Oh, well, okay, not tonight, but he's going to be at Jacksonville. Oh, okay, well, he's not in Jacksonville. He's going to be there at WrestleMania. Will he? Do people even know? I mean, we're going off Uncle Dave, Anthony, again, because on the latest episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio, he basically said, well, his definitive statement on the matter is Cody Rhodes is wrestling Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. The company may not do anything to hype it in advance. He's coming. I mean, that's it. He's wrestling Seth at WrestleMania. Unless something changes, I sure watched this and not thinking that anything's changing. How they do it, I think they may end up doing the Hardys thing where, they're coming and then they don't announce it and then they just show up the day of the show. They may be doing that one. That's Dave's stance on it. But,
have we ever had a WrestleMania where someone comes out because they haven't got a match and someone surprise walks out? I don't think we've has WrestleMania ever been that unplanned? Correct me. I don't know if I'm right on that, Carl, but I don't recall a scenario where someone comes out looking for a fucking fight.
The closest I can think of in recent times is when Braun Strowman needed to find a tag team partner, so he handpicked a kid from the audience.
Was that Mania?
That was a Mania, though.
It's crazy. That was a Mania moment for sure.
It certainly was. So that's the closest I can.
What I love about Dave is he doesn't ever have to take ownership of his just made up facts, does he? He's like, this is what they're saying. This is definitely going to happen. This is what my sources tell me. And then when it doesn't happen, he go, well, my sources told me that there'd been some last minute changes. Yeah, okay, Dave. Whatever.
That's it. Plans change.
They do. And when we know there's a history of like Vince ripping up a script, you could believe that as well. But what I believe is nobody fucking knows. This is the reality of it. Like, all this information he's getting, I personally don't think he's going to be there at WrestleMania. And I will stress think, because I don't fucking know. But let's be honest, right? Other than the fact that it'd be a surprise and Cody was in AEW and it'd get pop, like, oh, the AEW guy has come to W, oh my god. Like, other than that bullshit, right? Are you even interested in a match between Cody and Seth that has absolutely no real story behind it? Don't be wrong, they're both talented guys and it'd be a good match. But what would be the purpose?
I mean, it's so ironic that we just covered Eric Bischoff talking about how WWE knows how to build a story. And we're now having a discussion around whether or not it makes any sense to have Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes without any story at WrestleMania. Okay, Eric.
Under this new Dave take of it's going to be a surprise at Mania. Why Seth?
Yeah, that's the thing that makes me think it is going to happen is the fact that Seth still doesn't have any plans at WrestleMania, and you can't not have something planned for Seth. So if it isn't Cody, it's going to be Elias or someone. But essentially, Cody's going to. It could be Veer. He's coming to Raw. Maybe he's coming to WrestleMania. Who knows?
The thing is, right? Unless this is where if WWE genuinely haven't got Cody, right? This is where they need to set something up before Mania. If they leave Seth's opponent at Mania a surprise, and it ends up being Veer Mahan, or it ends up being like Elias or someone like that, when it would have normally gone, oh yeah, that's cool. People are going to be just pissed off because they've all decided it's Cody.
Yeah.
If it's not Cody, they need to make that clear before Mania.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just no narrative. They need to control the narrative, Anthony, if you will, because I can't see how this is going to work, right? Because, right, say nothing happens between now and Mania, Seth's going to walk out at WrestleMania and be like, I'm not on the WrestleMania card, and yet somehow there's time dedicated to you coming out here and cutting this promo and asking for a match. Anyway,
an unexpected match out of nowhere.
Because obviously he's not on the card because obviously if there's no match for him, then there's obviously no time factored in, so he can't appear at the show except when he walks out and has a match out of nowhere with all the time that they've got. Right, so he's going to come out and what's he going to say? I can't believe I didn't get a match at WrestleMania, and then it's going to be Jonathan in my soul, I am here. Why God knows. Like, he
look
comes
over
out.
there, it's Cody Rhodes. Oh, there he is.
And it's like, well, okay, It's Cody Rhodes. What's he doing here? He's here to have a match with Seth. He's beat Seth.
Plus, he's not really the master of surprise, Cody, is he? Because it won't even be like a trend. It'll be like wrestling has more than one royal family. Then 5 minutes of. It's like, wonder who this is going to be.
I know.
Smoke everywhere. It's probably Cody, you know.
It'll probably be, wow, only smoke and mirrors. You know, because that was such a good song. That's why he is not there yet. He's trying to grow his mustache back. I think. But
he sat there at home looking at the Stardust outfit, the plastic mask, or the mustache, and he's like, I just don't know what one to do. People are expecting a throwback. I need to give them a throwback.
He just comes out doing all of them. that might actually work. It's like it's full of like all the
painted plastic mask. So you've got the Stardust thing painted on the mask, and he's got a tash. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, but then they'll also be like, you've got to cover that horrendous neck tattoo up, so we're just going to go full Stardust makeup. Never going to show that. But no, it's I can't see it not being now, because I think if Seth was going to do something else, like, because to your point, if it's not Cody, it's going to be disappointment, and they've not, set anything up for him. So
we still have time for a setup. I mean, they only set up KO this week with Austin, didn't they? So
true, but I mean, like, if it isn't Cody, who's it going to be? Unless they put him, he goes to Smackdown and challenges for the Intercontinental title or something. In which case, all right.
But if it is Cody, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, other than it being a shock that it's Cody, what relevance does it have to Seth's current career? Did they even really have any sort of rivalry or interaction at all ever in the past?
No. Nothing. So, yeah, it means nothing. So, but
what we've got, when you take the Cody surprise out of it, what we've got is two guys who both want to be at Mania and don't have a match.
Yeah, which is like the majority of matches at Mania. Which it'll be like,
actually,
if it's not Cody Rhodes, then that's how he gets there anyway. Because he's still going to be, I'm the guy without a match, so I'll challenge you, Ricochet, because I've not got a match at Mania, or I've not got a match, so I'll challenge you, Michael Cole. Like
Ricochet holds the title and probably doesn't have a match at Mania anyway.
Well, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. The sad part is it's been going on, and it's not WWE's fault, but it's been going on that long now in terms of when the first reports came out that I kind of don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like all the potential excitement. Like if he would have gone, oh my god, at the point it was white hot. Like, oh my god, Cody Rhodes isn't with AEW. What the fuck? Wasn't expecting that. If he rocked up at Raw the next night, holy shit! Like, strike while the iron's hot, right? Now it's like, oh fuck care. If he shows up there, and if he doesn't, he goes to Ring of Honor. Okay, I don't care anymore because it's gone on that long. It's just the excitement's gone.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It is a fair point. I just, as well, he seems to still be tied in, not to be speculative, because obviously many a thing can change, it doesn't really matter, but he seems to be tied into Warner Media still with his Go Big Show and his Roads to the Top and stuff like that. So you go, well, is he really going to help a rival network? Would they be cool with that? Like, I know it's not a contract thing, but could they go, or we'd rather you don't go to WWE? I don't know how much freedom he's got in that sense.
I'm sure that's fine. It's just like, I don't know, an actor being on 2 different shows or like something like that, isn't it? Like, I don't think when you sign up for a show they go, well, you can't be on any other TV show on any other network.
Yeah, I suppose the difference is like more the fact that the Warner Media have a rival wrestling promotion, so why would you want him to help with that?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it would
that
definitely.
It's not like he can stop Snoop Dogg from going to WWE if he wants, and he's on the Go Big Show. So it doesn't. It kind of. I mean,
to be fair though, well, it does and it doesn't, because where it gets sticky is Rose to the Top, because what happens with that? Because they're not going to cover him debuting in WWE. Like,
it's just episodes and episodes of Cody's gone out.
Yeah,
back soon.
So it's like, when you get into them kind of specifics, then yeah, maybe, unless they've already filmed all the stuff they needed for the second series, and then they're just not going to continue, like, renew it. I don't know, but like, they're not going to show WWE stuff on that, surely. So
or Roads to the Top comes a network exclusive. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe
along with a shot of brandy.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. But interesting. So will he show up? I don't know. I don't really care.
Really?
We'll see. I mean, WrestleMania itself isn't looking great, is it? Let's be honest. It's not shaping up to be fantastic.
It was great a couple of years ago when we had it.
Yeah.
The exact same matches.
Yeah. But hey, so that was another episode of the Ringside Report.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, some very sad news obviously this week. So again, condolences to the family of Scott Hall, and obviously speedy recovery for Big E. And yeah, we will catch you on the flip side. But before we go, we are going to leave you with this little
do you like
plug.
wrestling? Do you like conventions? Why not do both?
What? You can do that? Yes, you can. And we're going to tell you how. So until next time, bye.
For Love of Wrestling, Europe's largest wrestling convention, returns to the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool on the 23rd and 24th of April. Guests this year include Diva of the Decade, Trish Stratus, the Wrestling God, JBL, the Dudley Boys, Torrie Wilson, and just announced MJF from AEW. We will also be doing a Wyatt family reunion as we welcome Eric Rowan, the man formerly known as Braun Strowman, and indeed the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Also just announced is the man, the legend, the icon, Sting, and of course your Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. This and many more guests, as well as prop builds, Q&As with all of the wrestlers, and some of the biggest wrestling collections in the world on display from our exhibitors. Get your tickets at forloveofwrestling.co.uk or search Facebook or Twitter for the Love of Wrestling. For the Love of Wrestling, Europe's biggest wrestling convention, returns to Liverpool the 23rd and the 24th of April.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A2theK.
A2theK.
A2theK.